Hello everyone, welcome to Broadview. My name is Joseph. The existence of unidentified flying objects, or UFOs, and what they really are have long been debated and a hot topic. Our channel is no stranger to these UFO stories either. In fact, we've done multiple videos on UFO encounters already, which will be linked down below if you're interested. However, most of what we've talked about and most of what people know about are relatively recent encounters with extraterrestrials in human history, whether they be first-hand accounts or declassified CIA documents. But what about further back in time, before our modern-day cameras and technology? Today we're going to talk about 3 ancient accounts of UFO encounters. Before we get started, subscribe if you haven't already, it helps us tremendously. Also hit that notification bell for more top-notch videos, and give this video a like if you enjoy our content. Now let's jump into our first account. One of the earliest possible accounts of UFO activity in human history comes from Egypt, around 3,000 years ago. The Tulli Papyrus claims to be a transcription of an Egyptian papyrus dating from the reign of Thutmose III. He was the 6th pharaoh of the 18th dynasty of Egypt, who ruled from the 28th of April 1479 BCE to the 11th of March 1425 BCE. According to a translation of the papyrus by Boris D. Roschwaltz, an Italian-Russian Egyptologist, a circle of fire descended from the sky and that its mouth had a foul odor, even though it didn't have a head. This mysterious object was described as being 15 feet across, and after several days more objects that were identical joined it. These bizarre figures appeared out of nowhere, stretching across the sky. Then one evening, they all headed south over the horizon and were never seen again. The pharaoh reportedly immediately ordered for this apparition to be recorded on this papyrus, which was then lost for 3 millennia before it was finally unearthed again. There is quite a bit of controversy surrounding this story. Many question the authenticity of the papyrus itself. Even D. Roschwaltz's translation of the papyrus was based on a secondary transcription of the original papyrus by Alberto Tulli, a Vatican museum director. The original papyrus was completely lost after Tulli's death. Some have tried to give the papyrus account a logical explanation, theorizing that the ancient Egyptians could have seen a meteor or passing comet in the sky. However, many have pointed out that this would be unlikely, considering that the ancient Egyptians were very knowledgeable in celestial bodies and astronomy. It's improbable that they would have mistaken something else for a meteor. In addition, the foul odor and the gathered group of identical objects that all disappeared simultaneously couldn't possibly match up with that of meteors. It's also been suggested that the foul odor could have been exhaust fumes or other foreign gases, something the Egyptians would not have recognized, but that could have been used by extraterrestrial spaceships. In any case, the Tulli Papyrus has caused ongoing discussion and debate on the existence and history of UFOs, and set the stage for future encounters. Let's travel to another one of our great ancient human civilizations. Titus Livius, more commonly known as Livy, is one of the most reputable historians of ancient Roman times. His works and records have been integral to understand ancient Roman life, culture, and historical events. As such, it is surprising to find that in one of his most important works, The History of Rome, which covers Rome's history from 753 BCE to 9 BCE, there are accounts strikingly similar to modern-day sightings of UFOs. In his account of the Second Punic War, Livy states that phantom ships appeared in the sky above the battle. The first sighting was 218 BCE, during the first year of the war when, according to Livy, these gleaming phantom ships appeared overhead in Rome. These same gleaming objects, which Livy said were shield-shaped, appeared again during the second year of the war over the ancient city of Arpi. The Second Punic War lasted 17 years. The last time Livy mentions these UFOs were decades after the war had ended, in 173 BCE. He says that there was a great fleet of these round flying ships in the sky above the ancient city of Nuremberg. People have voiced their skepticism over these claims, however. Some question the validity and credibility of the accounts, while others once again turn towards the explanation of a meteor or comet shower being the culprit behind the apparitions. However, as with the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Romans were also very knowledgeable in astronomy, and so it's highly unlikely that they would have mistaken anything that wasn't a comet or a meteor to be one. In addition, Livy's position as a trusted historian, even in his own time, means that his accounts are all generally regarded as trustworthy and accurate. He lived some 150 years after the events that he describes, though all of his accounts were based on records from the Annales Maximi. This was a meticulously, thoroughly verified and fact-checked archive that was created during the Roman Republic. Considering all of this, it's extremely unlikely that Livy would have embellished the claims in his books at the risk of his reputation, or written down anything that had not been thoroughly verified at the time. So does this mean that those shield-shaped phantom ships in the sky might be extraterrestrial technology? Fast forward a couple hundred years to the 16th century. Archived in the prints and drawings collected in Zurich, Switzerland, is a broadsheet news article that was printed in April of 1561. It's illustrated with a woodcut engraving and text by Hans Wolf Glasser, a printer, block cutter, woodcut tinter, and publisher known for his broadsheets. The document measures 26.2 centimeters by 38 centimeters. It was printed in Nuremberg, which is now a city in Germany. But back in 1561, it was a free imperial city or independent city-state within the Holy Roman Empire. What makes this broadsheet news article so remarkable is that it seemingly describes a mass sighting of an unexplained celestial phenomenon. According to the document, inhabitants of the city witnessed an aerial battle. This was followed by the appearance of a large black triangular object and exhausted combatant spheres that fell to earth in clouds of smoke. The broadsheet claims that these witnesses watched as hundreds of spheres, cylinders, and other odd-shaped objects moved about erratically above them. As you can see, the woodcut illustration depicts objects of various shapes, including crosses, both with and without spheres on the arms, small spheres, two large crescents, a black sphere, and cylindrical objects from which many small spheres emerge. Beneath the illustration is a detailed description of what allegedly occurred on that day. It reads, "In the morning of April 14th, 1561, at daybreak, between 4 and 5 a.m., a dreadful apparition occurred on the sun, and then this was seen in Nuremberg in the city, before the gates and in the country, by many men and women. At first there appeared in the middle of the sun two blood-red semicircular arcs, just like the moon in its last quarter. And in the sun, above and below, and on both sides, the color was blood. There stood a round ball of partly dull, partly black ferrous color. Likewise, there stood on both sides and as a torus about the sun such blood-red ones and other balls in large number, about 3 in a line and 4 in a square, also some alone. In between these globes there were visible a few blood-red crosses, between which there were blood-red strips, becoming thicker to the rear and in the front malleable like the rods of reed grass, which were intermingled. Among them 2 big rods, one on the right and the other on the left, and within the small and big rods there were 3, also 4 and more globes. These all started to fight among themselves, so that the globes which were first in the sun flew out to the ones standing on both sides. Thereafter, the globes standing outside the sun in the small and large rods flew into the sun. Besides, the globes flew back and forth among themselves and fought vehemently with each other for over an hour. And when the conflict in and again out of the sun was most intense, they became fatigued to such an extent that they all, as said above, fell from the sun down upon the earth, as if they all burned, and they then wasted away on the earth with immense smoke. After all this, there was something like a black sphere, very long and thick, sighted. The shaft pointed to the east, the point toward the west." This is quite the vivid description. It seems that Nuremberg locals really witnessed some sort of extraterrestrial aerial battle that day, and this is in fact what the witnesses back then believed they saw. Many believe that this was some sort of intervention or message from God. Today, some try to give this account a scientific explanation, claiming that the mysterious fighting figures in the sky were sundogs. Sundogs typically appear as a pair of subtly colored patches of light that are around 22 degrees to the left and the right of the sun, and at the same elevation as the sun. They occur when the sun or moon shines through ice crystals in the specific formation. When nearest to the sun, sundogs are red, and as they get further away, they range from orange to blue. Important to note here is that they're always very muted in color, never pure or saturated. While this phenomenon might explain the appearance of a few orbs or strips of light in the sky, it can't explain everything that the locals saw that day. For example, sundogs occur at the same elevation as the sun, but in Nuremberg there were orbs and crosses at varying elevations. It's also impossible to explain how these objects fought one another and then fell to the ground in bursts of smoke. Sundogs certainly don't battle each other and they then don't fall to the ground. Nor do sundogs form long black spear-shaped apparitions or round balls that are particularly black and iron-colored. So it's quite obvious that this is not a plausible or complete explanation for what happened in Nuremberg. So what exactly happened in each one of these three accounts? Were they really just tricks of the light and astronomical anomalies, as some people have tried to claim? Have human beings always just been predisposed to having strange hallucinations of flying saucers in the sky since the dawn of civilization? Or were these really extraterrestrials who came to Earth far before any of us were born? I'll leave that up to you to decide. Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this topic. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.